Hi everyone! So it is Sunday, and you guys just took a quiz and went over chapter 9, so I'm going to kind of go over a few things over in this video. Mainly we're going to go over the muscle anatomy because you need to get that down, and it's kind of confusing, and I have some tools here to kind of help you remember those things. So first off, I want to say Dr. Norskov talked about a couple things at the beginning of the lecture that are not in your notes, such as the antagonist muscle, agonist muscle, origin / head, or insertion. Now, it's important to look these up because as you may not really be using them so much in this class, like the lecture, you will see them a lot in the lab, so you need to be familiar with what those terms mean, because after your skull lab, you will really start to learn, need to know what origin and insertion means, especially for your lab exam. So I really want to help you guys with that lab exam because I know it's really a huge thing. So I'm trying to give you a heads up on some things to just kind of help you along the way so you can do well on that test. So definitely look up antagonist, agonist, origin, and insertion. Know those words. Write them down in your notes. I just think just write them down so you can see them all the time. Also, make sure you remember the functions of the muscle system, or the muscular system, especially the respiratory and communication, because those are forgotten often. And so just remember that muscles are helping you with your breathing and communication. Okay, so let's talk about muscle anatomy. I'm going to start from small to large of what you've gone through already. There's a section with some even smaller things in the bottom of your notes, but we haven't even lectured over that, so I'm gonna wait because that's kind of its own thing in itself. So I'm going to use this as an example. I'll just put it right here because I don't know if the camera will pick it up, so I'll just put it in the photo, or in the video editor right up here. So the first thing, this is small to large. Okay, we're gonna go smallest to largest, and I would definitely take a piece of paper out and write these because it's really good if you're a very visual person to see it in a list and to see it on here. So yeah, just write this down somewhere as I'm going through it, okay? All right, so the first thing is on the bottom of the little notes. It's going to say filaments. Those are your actin and myosin filaments, and if you remember, we did go over those, and one of them's thin and one of them's thick. You need to know which ones are which. And then we have a myofibril. Now, a myofibril is made up of a bunch of these myofilaments, okay? So we have a myofibril with little filaments, okay? And around that myofibril, there's the sarcoplasm. Now, the sarcoplasm is the cytoplasm of myofibrils. Basically, what that means is, if you look at your picture here, the sarcoplasm is going to be filling the space between all of these myofibrils. So look at this picture at the bottom and see all the little myofibrils, and then the space in between them is filled with sarcoplasm, okay? And then around all of that is the sarcolemma, all right? So the sarcolemma surrounds all of that, and that whole collective thing of myofibrils and filaments and sarcoplasm, that makes up a muscle cell. Okay, so that's our muscle cell. We're breaking down the cell into little parts. So now we finally got our cell. And our muscle cell is also called our muscle fiber. So, yeah, it's interchangeable. So make sure you know both words. If someone says muscle cell or muscle fiber, it's the same thing. Okay. All right, and in your notes, there is on the top part here somewhere, it says that each muscle cell is innervated, which basically means each of the muscle cells has a nerve innervating it. So in the picture you can see that happening. So each nerve has one. Each muscle cell has a nerve to its name, in a sense. So just know that. Important to know that. Let's go up here. Then we have Endomysium. This surrounds the sarcolemma. So basically, this one's kind of hard to distinguish because it's just literally right outside of the sarcoplasm. So the sarcoplasm and endomysium are just like both surrounding the muscle cell, okay? So around all of these muscle cells, we have this thing called the perimysium. Now, what the perimysium does is it surrounds a bunch of muscle fiber cells, I just said that, but and creates fascicles. So basically what a fascicle is a group of muscle filaments. All right, so we have our group of muscle fibers, muscle cells, whatever. Oh, sorry. Fascicle. Fascicle is a group of muscle fibers, not filaments, sorry. And so the paramycium is what makes a fascicle, okay? So many words here. You really got to study this, okay? The final thing, well, couple final things. You have now you have your muscle, okay? So if this was your bicep muscle, you have a whole bunch of these things going on, and that makes your muscle. So you have your muscle, and then you have a tendon that attaches your muscle to your bone. But over the tendon and the periosteum, which is a membrane that lines the, you guys should know this, I'm not going to say what it is, periosteum, you should know what that is. I really want to say it, but I'm not going to say it. Anyways, it is called the fascia that is continuous with the tendon, which is connecting the bone and muscle, to the osteum. So periosteum, sorry. So you can see that here. There's a good picture of it here. Okay, let me go through them one more time, and I'll put a little list right here so you guys can write it down. From smallest to largest, all right? Actin and myosin filaments, myofibrils, sarcoplasm, sarcolemma, muscle fiber or cell, nerve, in a sense, because that's going to surround the nerve, okay? Endomysium, paramycium, fascicle, because the paramycium creates a fascicle, and then muscle, and then fascia. Fascia, Fascia. I don't know if I'm saying it right, hopefully. But yeah, okay. So why I really want you guys to, I'm going to give you 2 copies of this, one blank and one with the words on it, because I really think this one, I like this, I found this last year, and I like it a lot more than the one that is in the book. And the reason why is because in the book, this whole thing is cut in half and put on 2 pages, and that's really distracting, because this and this look so similar, so that people kind of get confused at what they're looking at. So what I really like this one, because it's really detailed. It has everything that we need to know that's in our notes, and it has everything besides like sarcomeres and stuff that we won't get into later. But I really suggest you study off this one. This has everything you need to know, besides a couple of things which we will learn later, which I told you already. But yeah, look at this one, because I found it way more helpful than the other one in your book. Alright, so I have a little trick I want to teach you guys. Not really a trick, but it's something I noticed as I was going through A&P 1, and even now till A&P 2. Looking back at this, you have, I want you to look at specifically paramycium, epimycium, and endomysium, okay? Okay, so here's a little word trick that I found out that I actually really like, and hopefully you can see this. Alright, so we have our paramycium, our epimycium, and our endomysium. So we already know what peri means. Peri means around, and by looking at your diagram, you'll see that paramycium is surrounding a bunch of muscle cells, right? Okay, so it's the one that's furthest superficial, the one that's furthest outward towards the skin, right? So it's the one that's going to be further out. So peri, it's around everything. Okay, it's not around everything, but you get it. Paramycium, all right? And how I remember going down these 3, so you have your paramycium and you have your epimycium, and how I don't know how I thought of this, but P to P, so that's how we go to epimycium, which is going to be next, right? So paramycium, epimycium, and then we finish at the end, right? When you run a race, you finish at the end, and so that's how I know endomysium is going to be the smallest, the one most deep into the muscle, and that's how I remember kind of this order, because it's kind of confusing, because they're literally mycium with just these prefixes, and it's like, what? So this is a really good way to how I found that you memorize these. And also, once you get into A&P 2, you'll have these words, and I know some of you will probably know what these words are. All right, so in AP2, this was just on my last test, we have pericardium, epicardium, and endocardium. And it's the same thing as the muscles. Pericardium surrounds the whole cell, or sorry, the whole heart, and then epicardium is like a thin layer under that, and then the endocardium is like within the chambers of the heart and all this stuff. So this is found even later, and again, we just have these prefixes of peri, epi, and endo, and then cardium, because that means that's referring to the heart, where mysium is referring to the muscles. And so I'm pretty sure there's more stuff like this somewhere else, but these were the two that really stood out in my mind when I found them. So yeah, just really get that down, that peri's going to be on the superficial or most outer part, compared to epicardium or mysium, which is going to be towards the middle, but it still has a deeper layer, which is the endocardium, endomysium, whichever you are studying at that point. So that's a kind of a fun way to remember that. Well, I don't know if it's fun, but it's just kind of like, oh, you know it. So hopefully that helps. The last thing I want to go through today is troponin and tropomyosin. Now, we haven't gotten to what they do yet, but I want you to understand at least where they are. And so, you know what? I'm going to put it here too, because I can do that. So I'm going to put it here. This little diagram. Don't worry about A and B right now, because we're going to get to part of this lecture is where we talk about the processes of how a muscle contracts, but we're not there yet, so don't worry about learning that. But there should be the picture that I put up here should have some things underlined in red. Know those things. I will attach that in the email that I sent to you guys too, so you guys can know that. So just understand troponin and tropomyosin, they work together, and we'll learn what they do in a little bit, but just know that, because those are two even smaller components compared to this thing that we were doing earlier. So in conclusion, I just want you guys to really study those this handout specifically. If you don't do anything, know that, because of anything, that's, I feel, one of the more important things, because it's so big and it's really confusing and people don't get it. On the first lecture, I didn't. I was so lost on the first lecture that I had with Norscope last semester. But yeah, but definitely go through everything else, know the functions, properties, tissue type, skeletal muscle structure, blah, 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 blah. I'm also attaching a quiz. It's like really short, so do it. No. So I'll attach a quiz. I'll attach all of these things that I talked about. And you guys are doing great. Please still come to my past sessions, because I love you guys and I miss you guys when you're not there. So come and keep studying. Keep motivated. Talk to people if you need encouragement, because it's really easy to be discouraged when you get a bad quiz grade or a bad test grade. So definitely continue to have a little study group or something that just kind of helps you, encourage you. And I'm always here if you need any help. I'm definitely not your teacher, so don't rely on me too heavily. Still double check anything I say, because it's really important that you do that, as some of you know from last quiz. But definitely, if you talk to Norscove, I mean, he's your teacher, so he will definitely give you 100% the right answer. But I'm always here for any kind of advice. I just took this last semester, so I really have a lot of this fresh in my mind, so I can really help you guys out. So yeah, I'll see you tomorrow on Moon Day. And you guys have a lovely overcast Sunday. Bye.